Hey guys, welcome to this week's video. In this video I'll be talking about this. No, not the game itself, even though it's a good game, but more about this. What do you do when basically your box falls apart? Today we're doing gluing. Okay, first of all let's address the elephant in the room, the wood glue here. I've actually come across people who have used wood glue to seal boxes. And it's a good idea in a sense. Since paper is basically just wood pulp, then using wood glue works really well. And it does. It glues it really well, really solid. In fact, if you work with wood and wood glue, you know that if you glue a bond, that the wood will actually fail before the glue does. So it's a really good product for what it does. The problem is that when you use it with paper, first of all, the coloration, it becomes darker. So you'll have a yellow blotch wherever that paint, wherever that glue was. So, you know, if you're just gluing paper or cardboard together, then yes. If you're trying to preserve the item and not let it be visible that you were there, then yeah, don't use wood glue. I understand where you're coming from, just don't do it. Now, another thing is basically, you know, like super glue. It's another project that I would stay away from. If you are going to use it, use something like this, which is clear, and it'll do its best to disappear, but it'll still bleed through the paper. And you'll get those really hard, almost like calluses. It's like rock hard. So if you use a lot of it, then the seam where you're trying to fix is going to be basically rock solid. And just to show you here, I've got a few patches, so I'll show each of the glue. I'm not going to show the wood glue for obvious reasons. But let's start with the super glue here. So I'm just going to do a little dab of super glue. And put that here, and then fold this paper over and work that through. Now, in a moment, you will see that this will actually turn darker since the glue is eating through the paper. So you might be able to see it now. Let's see. Maybe I should zoom in instead. So there we go. So I don't know if you can see that or not, but let's zoom in. So that was a little too much, it seems. Maybe here. Yeah, so you can see how it's actually going through the paper and it's making it darker, and of course that's happening on both sides of the paper. In certain areas you can see that the light shines through. That's because it's wet right now, but it'll harden up and it'll become really dark. So not exactly a solution that I would recommend, but again, I've seen people do it and it seems to be working fine for them. It's just try not to. Then you have the regular school glue. Again, this is just, you know, the regular stuff, so you know, you just apply and close it up. But as anyone who has used school glue will tell you it doesn't really stick together very well. It takes a long time to dry properly, but you could definitely use this. This is a method that works. There is no bleed through. It's just you would have to seal up the seam and then put some pressure on it, put a book on it or something like that, to make sure that those two halves will actually adhere. So this should be a little bit more tacky right now, but you know, more than likely this is going to fail again. Another solution is this, which is just like craft glue, and it's similar to the paper glue, the glue sticks, except that this is liquid. So you just put a dab of that and close this up. Now the problem with this is if you use too much of it, then it'll come out on the sides, but that's really the only downfall of this product here, that you might use too much and end up having it seep through the cracks like this here, and basically you end up with glue where you don't want glue to be. Now another problem with this is that the chemicals used in glue can eat through the paper. So it's not the best, again, solution for sealing boxes, and if you're a little careless, you can get these little lines here, so you can see those little air bubbles, and again, that's not exactly what you want in your finished product. And also there is a tiny amount of acid in these, which will actually basically destroy the paper. As I understand it, the whole purpose of that acid is to make the glue penetrate the paper and make a better seal, or adhesion, or you know what I'm trying to say. But the best glue is something like this. It'll tell you on it that it is acid free, and it's basically, it has several different uses, but one of the main uses of this is actually to preserve old manuscript, because it doesn't destroy the paper. So the only downfall of this is the exact same as the other one, is that it is liquid, meaning that if you use too much, then it will bleed out the sides. So it can be a little tricky to find exactly how much glue to use, but you can see here that it gives a better, more uniform texture than the other one, and I can more easily move it out without creating any air bubbles. There's a slight one here, but overall I can easily get rid of those. But it does have the same problem that if you use too much, it will go through the cracks, and you end up with glue on your fingers. Now, if you end up with any of this glue on the outside of the box, you just basically wipe it off, and it's going to dry clear. It's not going to show. I can actually show you that. I have a box that I repaired a week back or so. So here we go. This is a box that has definitely seen better days. But I glued the spine on using the craft bond that's acid free, and I got a little bit of glue on the edge here where it seeped out, but you can't tell. Just basically used my fingers to wipe off the excess. You really don't see anything. It just dries crystal clear. So definitely a good way to go. So now that we've talked excessively about glue, let's go ahead and fix this box. So you can see that the glue has failed all the way, and it's left this residue from the old glue, a little bit on both sides. So the first thing that we do is we want to remove that, because what it does is it creates a gap between, so it'll actually, it's not going to be a tight fit, and we want this to be perfect. So first thing we're going to do is remove the old glue. And if you're careful, you can just use your fingers. It shouldn't tear the paper as long as you are careful. There we go. So now that we have the surfaces prepared, we'll just take a little bit of the glue and we'll just gently go down the side here. So I'm just doing a very, very tiny bead of glue. And if I get any blotches, I'll just jump a little. So there you have it. And then wrap this around. And I want to use the box in here just to make sure that I don't accidentally make this more tight, so I wouldn't be able to get the box in and out. So like that. And then align the halves. So I think that is good. And then I'll slide the box out again. Because if there is any run out, I don't want that to be on the box. Can be a little tricky to do that while you're trying to hold pressure on the seam here, but we should now have a fairly secure. It should very quickly, it should start to grab and it should hold itself, so we can massage the glue a little bit. It doesn't seem like I got anything out, which is good. At least not on the outside. So let's look. I don't see anything on the inside either. So that looks like it's dry. So I'm feeling a little bit more confident that I used the right amount of glue. So I will put this back in again. And then take something heavy, like that, and just put that on top. Let it sit there for a little bit. There you go, it's been about 10 minutes. So I'll take this off. Make sure that there are no runouts. And also make sure that I can actually take the box out. Double check that there aren't any glue inside of here, which there are none. So all in all, this looks really good. So I will put that back around so that it'll take the shape of the inner box. And then put it back on my shelf.